I am the hammer. I am the edge of his sword. I am the tip of his spear. I am the mail about his fists. I am the flight of his arrows. I am the right hand of the Emperor. I am the instrument of his will. I am his sword as he is my armor. I am his wrath as he is my zeal. I am the bane of his foes and the woes of the treacherous. Let us be his shield. Let us speak his words as he fuels the fire of devotion. Let us fight his battles as he fights the battle unseen. Let us join him there, for duty ends not in death. In vengeance, be true. In valor, be strong. I am the hammer. I am the sword. I am the spear. I am the shield. I am the soldier at the battle at the end of time.
Do you guys hate demons? Either in terms of gameplay or lore, but mostly talking about the lore. I think it's safe to say that while there are good aspects to the Chaos Gods, and I say that with heavy quotations, demons are literally pure fucking evil. There's not really any good side of them. They exist selfishly and to torture others. They are just sadism and malevolence made into flesh. It's no exaggeration to say that Chaos itself is the biggest threat to the Imperium. After all, whenever somebody dies, their soul goes to the warp. Human souls mostly fade into the background quickly, but that still means that the warp is getting fueled with souls. Not to mention emotions, beliefs, and anything a human really feels also fuels the warp very easily, and also there's a mirror that ends up being created, which can become a demon or something else. So if the warp and chaos is dangerous, why not make an entire chapter of Space Marines to deal with it? Enter the Grey Knights, the Mary Sues of 40k. Or are they? Are they really as bad as people say? Yes, they are. They are that bad, but this is more blaming the symptom than the cause, and I want to talk about that more. Not to brag, but I like to think I know a thing or two about writing, and I want to see where the Grey Knights went wrong, and why they're the worst Imperium faction in 40k. But who are the Grey Knights? Where did they come from? And why does everybody hate them? More on that after this message. We're still climbing in numbers, so if you like what we do here, why don't you go ahead and subscribe. I'm planning on doing kit bash and painting videos in the future. I'm not the best painter, but you know, it'll be some more background noise for you guys to listen to. Also, once again, memberships are a thing. You get access to the Discord, chosen or higher, you get your name on a model, and after years being a member, I kit bash you into my army at your discretion. That's about it. But hello, I am Dadium, the man in the broken tower, here once again to talk about how Grey Knights are a mess. So the Grey Knights come from the gene seed of the Emperor. Yeah, that's not a joke. I thought it was. I thought it was like an exaggeration or something, but no, these guys are literally derived from Big E himself. I feel like this is GW's way of making the Sensei semi-canon. The Sensei were a genetic descendants of Big E, but they have since been retconned out of the setting, and even if they aren't, they're not really present anymore. Regardless, the first Grey Knights were the Knights Errant, a group of Space Marines who left their legions to follow the orders of Malkador the Sigillite, Big E's right-hand man and the shadiest motherfucker to exist in the setting, while also being the biggest baller. Thanks, Malk. As well as forming the Grey Knights, the Knights Errant would go on to form the basis of the Inquisition. They really should have picked a better name. Maybe the entire organization would have been misconstrued. Regardless, some chosen of the Knights Errant were taken to Titan to become Grey Knights under Malkador's orders. In order to keep his project safe, Malkador made Titan disappear. During the events of the Heresy, when the traitors came closer to our solar system, the moon of Titan was just gone. Where did it go? In an immense flex of psychic might, Malkador forced the entirety of Titan into the warp, where it remained hidden, or at least protected, due to the fact that the entire moon had what is described as macro Geller fields, whatever that means. Regardless, Malkador, right before dying, is playing 5D chess against Chaos because something interesting happens. After the Horus Heresy, which, need I remind you, didn't even last like 10 years, during the second founding when all the legions were split into chapters, Titan reappeared. Originally, there was only 8 members of the Grey Knights, but because time flows differently in the warp, they had gone from 8 to 1,000 members of the chapter. Where did they find all these members? Why did they only stop at 1,000 if this was before the second founding? Shut up, we're not going to think about that. And here's when we start getting into the more stupid stuff of the Grey Knights, and this isn't major, but it just makes me go like, really? Really, guys? So, because they were still a secretive organization and the Imperium needed to needlessly catalog everything still, the Grey Knights were labeled as the 666th chapter of the Space Marines. Right. Subtlety. The Grey Knights would become assigned as part of the Ordo Malleus, which makes sense as they're literally made to fight demons, and that's the origin of the Grey Knights, and they are kept a secret, but why? In my opinion, it's a very stupid answer, but in the context of 40k, it does kind of make sense. So human history gets messy. The oldest writings we have from human civilization is stuff from like ancient Sumer, which is from 3000 to 4000 BC, so around 6,000 years ago at the most. I'm fairly certain a majority of the writings have been translated, but at the same time, we don't have much else physically from that time. So take that idea, now let's go ahead and apply it to the Horus Heresy. We know it happened, we know there's documentation, but it happened so long ago that the finer details have gone missing, or in the case of the Imperium, have been censored. There is a literal thing going on where they say that the Emperor only had 9 sons rather than saying he had 18, because we're not supposed to be talking about the traitor Primarchs or the Chaos Space Marines, because to the average Imperial, Chaos doesn't exist. They don't know it exists. In Iron Within, there is a Cadian who is literally saluting an Iron Warrior because the average Imperial Guardsman doesn't understand the concept of Space Marines going traitor. Chaos has to be hidden away from the masses because the existence of the Chaos Gods go completely against the Imperial cult and the Imperial truth, because they are gods, they are out there, they can be worshipped and have been worshipped. The Emperor is not the only big bad in the universe. If anything, he's small potatoes. So it becomes imperative that humanity is not made aware of the existence of chaos and demons, let it fall even faster than they already are. Hell, there's Inquisitors who literally have never heard of the Grey Knights, and why would they? These guys are the literal sons of the Emperor, all psychers, and their sole duty is to kill demons to slow down the war machine that is the Chaos Gods. They are the only organization that can flat out refuse an Inquisitor. They even kill them if the Inquisitor is suspected of being corrupted. Would have been nice to have had these guys in Space Marine. Oh, actually, maybe not. Do you know how Grey Knights fight demons? They literally go into the warp and fight demons on their home turf. And you know what's funny? So cultists summon demons. That's a thing they just do, right? What makes it even funnier is because the Grey Knights are fighting demons in the warp. Sometimes a cultist can accidentally summon a fucking Grey Knight instead of a demon. Imagine you're trying to fucking summon Satan and you suddenly bamf Doom Guy into your home. You have a lot of explaining to do. I think that's what I like about Grey Knights the most. They're not just popping up at random demon incursions, they're literally invading hell and fighting them head on, which is just so fucking cool. It reminds me a lot of the Paladins from Trench Crusade, and I feel like that's probably the inspiration for the Paladins. There's a lot of knightly Crusader vibes with the Grey Knights, and it's a lot more than Space Marines, I'd argue, and even more than the Dark Angels. They take oaths of purity, sanctity, loyalty, and zeal, and they take those oaths very fucking seriously. There's no scampering around the corners of the galaxy looking for traitor brothers. No, these guys are throwing bricks through Kairos' window and calling him slurs before they jump his ass. How do the Grey Knights combat demons? In a few ways. First, every Grey Knight is a Psyker, and they are quite powerful as, after all, they have the gene seed of the Emperor, and Big E was Big Man Psyker Supreme. This gives them an edge when fighting demons, because demons by their nature are immaterial without having an anchor to keep them tied into real space. They are able to use their psychic powers to beat their asses. But they also have nemesis weaponry. We need to talk about power weapons briefly, just to give a little bit of context on how this stuff works. So power weapons are what they sound like. They are weapons that have a power source. Power swords, thunder hammers, and lightning claws, they have devices that project a power field around them. For power swords and lightning claws, the power field allows the weapon to cut through practically everything. Their weapons basically become lightsabers, while the thunder hammer projects a powerful field that amplifies the destructive hit to become something awe-inspiring. Nemesis weapons operate on a similar principle, but their power field is much different, where rather than using a power source, the Grey Knights power their weapons using their psychic prowess to create a power field around their weapon, meaning they can fucking stab demons. This is the equivalent of a 9th level wizard in D&D finding a way to apply fireballs to his dagger so he can stab God. The Grey Knights can literally cast Fist. Also, they have Storm Bolters, which isn't exactly special, but it's just how they're mounted, which is just fucking sick. Rather than using a Storm Bolter as normal, which is 2 rapid-fire bolters strapped right next to each other with a box magazine, they instead have mounted it onto their fucking wrist, so they're doing a Mandalorian cosplay. So while this guy is spinning around his lightsaber blade around, he's also gunning you down with a wrist-mounted rapid-fire RPG blasting Vodeon in its helmet. You're playing Warhammer 40k, this guy is playing Republic Commandos. The Grey Knights have other weapons, but I don't think they're as interesting as Nemesis weapons, and I think it's the coolest part of the Grey Knights that isn't their fucking armor. Like, god damn, look at this shit. It is such a goddamn shame that these minis haven't been updated yet. Wink, wink, 11th edition. The Grey Knights are also the only army in 40k where you're allowed to spam Terminators, so if you like spamming Terminators, which granted that's an expensive ass list, you're still able to do it with these guys. Technically, you can spam Terminators in any Space Marine list, but these guys are like actually troops. They're not just a special unit. Starting to run out of cool things to say about the Grey Knights, so it's time we answer the big question. Why do they suck? This video has been a long time coming, but I want to give credit where credit is due. Arthur, Mr. Bones, is a big inspiration for this channel, like many others, and he recently made a Grey Knight video not too long ago, and I watched it. And while I don't agree with him fundamentally, I do think his video title is wrong. The Grey Knights haven't always sucked, GW just ruined them, like they did with everything else they seem to touch. Okay, we gotta talk about Matt Ward. This is a disclaimer, don't hate on Matt Ward. He's gotten plenty of shit for everything that he's made over the years, and I'm gonna defend him a little bit towards the end of this segment. Just put down your fucking pitchforks, we're gonna talk about everything that went wrong. I'm gonna go back and forth a lot on defending and shitting on the Grey Knights, so you just strap in, this might get a bit disjointed for the rest of this video. So, who is Matt Ward? Matt Ward was and still is a writer for Games Workshop. Back in older editions, GW would actually credit their writers in the codexes, and Matt was one of the lead writers for the codexes. All of them, not just for lore, but also rules, and Matt had pissed off a lot of people. But how did he do it? Getting into the history of the tabletop a little bit, Warhammer was much more narrative combat than it was competitive. Things were unbalanced, it was a mess, but that was kind of the point of the game. It was less war game and more almost D&D. That being said, Matt found a way to make things far worse, but it wasn't the rules that were bad. Well, at least not mostly. I'm told 5th edition was hot dog ass, but it was the fluff. The lore was a disaster, and I'm gonna go ahead and defend Matt here really quick, and don't take my word for it. Apparently, this was a conversation that Kirioth had with him, Kirioth being, once again, another inspiration for this channel and someone who I kind of look up to in the YouTube space. He spoke with Matt Ward in the past at some point. A lot of people attribute Ward to being the reason why the Ultramarines were pushed to being the poster boy chapter and why a lot of their characters ended up becoming Mary Sue's. From what it sounds like, and I wish I could link the episode of Adeptus Ridiculous where he talks about this, and I think he talked about it on his own channel as well before, but I can't remember which episode it was, so if somebody remembers, please help me out and put it in the comments. GW wanted the Ultramarines to be on the front. Matt just happened to like them. But while Matt was the writer at GW wanted certain things to be written in a certain way. And if Matt didn't write it the way that GW wanted it, they would just replace him. And people probably don't want to hear this, but believe me, being a writer is the most replaceable part in any project on paper. Whether the project suffers or not doesn't really matter. So many people want to be professional writers, and Matt was in a very competitive market. For the sake of keeping his job, he wrote what GW wanted. This, however, does not fucking absolve him of what he fucking did to the Grey Knights or other factions, so let's get into it. Once again, don't hate on this guy. Also, another quick defense, he laid the groundwork for the Necrons being the faction they are today, so go fuck yourself, he did something right. Alright, he also broke Warhammer Fantasy Battle so hard that they had to rush 8th edition and to fix his fuck up, which was the last edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, before they killed it and brought out Age of Sigmar. Whoops. Aside from saying that the Ultramarines were the best chapter ever and every chapter was jealous and wished Bobby G-String was their daddy, I'm not joking, this was lore that he wrote apparently. The most egregious thing he's done was making the Grey Knights a fucking disaster. We've already talked about the Grey Knights conceptually, and they're a very good basis for an interesting faction. They're literally space crusaders who break into hell to fight demons in their homes. And while other people came in and helped screw things up, Matt was the one who got the ball rolling on all this because GW made him. He was one of the lead writers, he had very little choice outside of quitting his job, which he clearly loved, and still does. He works on Darktide right now, as far as I'm concerned, and he helped write some of the stuff for Battlefleet Gothic 2. So, you know, Matt clearly loves his job. Let's talk about the Months of Shame briefly. I say briefly, this is actually a really long segment now that I'm looking at the script. Let's just go ahead and all agree that this entire scenario is fucking stupid, even for 40k, which is a dumb setting. It's fucking dumb. It's supposed to be dumb. It's fun. But after the first war for Armageddon, we'll talk about that in the Orc video, don't you worry, the Grey Knights showed up to fight because fucking Angron appeared, of all people. The conflict was incredibly long, and the minds of man are weak and fickle. So the Inquisition, and we need to make this clear, this was the Inquisition's fault, not the Grey Knights, thought it'd be best to sterilize the human civilian population of the planet and kill the entirety of the Armageddon Steel Legion as they were being boarded onto transport ships and being taken off-world. Because this was the time where the Grey Knights were still a closely guarded secret, a very badly kept one, but you know, we'll talk about that later on. The entirety of the fucking Space Wolves chapter told the Inquisition to kick fucking rocks, prompting the Lord Inquisitor to have a little bitch fit. So he went to Fenris, the home of the Space Wolves, the Emperor's executioners, and told them to know their fucking place or he would exterminate his Fenris. If you take a look at the chart, I don't like the Space Wolves. I think a lot of people who have complaints for the Ultramarines, it fits them better, but the reason why I say this is because a few things ended up happening. Firstly, the Grey Knights joined the Inquisitor because at first they were supposed to have negotiations with the Space Wolves on what to do with the human civilian population of Armageddon and the Armageddon Steel Legion, which big man Logan Grimnar agreed to because he isn't like his father and he has a leveled fucking head. Remember Prospero? The Inquisition proceeded to fire on Grimnar's ship as he entered their space. Turns out the Grandmaster at the time, Joros, was the one who ordered the attack and admitted that to Logan Grimnar. Logan proceeded to kill him and cut his fucking head off. That's when the mess truly began. We're not gonna power scale shit in 40k because it's 40k and power scaling is for people who have never even seen a woman, but I'm just gonna say Logan Grimnar one-shotting a Grandmaster of the Grey Knights is kind of fucking crazy. A Grandmaster is literally right under fucking Caldor Drago. I'm just saying, this might be a little bullshit, just a bit. This didn't make the Inquisitor mad at first. Instead, he started to shit fucking bricks and Logan Grimnar and his boys left the ship, not before killing a bunch more Grey Knights and went back to Fenris, to which the dumb motherfucker did not consult the chart I showed you earlier and proceeded to pursue the Space Wolves back to Fenris. The combined might of the Grey Knights and the Inquisition was no match for the ultra-oh-so-powerful Space Wolves, the Emperor's favorite divergent chapter, that the Inquisition had to actually call a draw and go lick its wounds as they limped away along with the Grey Knights. Some people want to point out that this shows that the Grey Knights suck. I think it's quite the opposite. I think it more or less just makes the Space Wolves more plot armor clad than they already were. That being said, why the fuck would you admit to Logan Grimnar that you purposefully tricked him and tried to kill him? Also, my biggest problem, why the fuck did the Grey Knights listen to this dumbass Inquisitor? It's not like the reputation of the Wolves is unknown or anything. These guys massacred an entire Marine Legion and possibly their Primarch. Actually, that was erased from history now that I think about it, so nobody probably actually knows about that, do they? Huh. Okay, I take that part back. This is one of the many blunders that the Grey Knights are a part of, so what are the others? Firstly, I want to talk about the whole the Grey Knights are a secret organization. They're not. That's just not true. Are they secretive? Of course, but that doesn't mean they're utterly hidden. There's a meme that the Grey Knights kill anyone who witnesses them, and that's also not true. At least it's not as common as people say it is. They have psychic powers and technology that can wipe people's minds, Men in Black style. Not to mention, in Castellan, a Grey Knight fucking book, there is a Sister of Battle who wasn't mind wiped or killed and has a very good memory of fighting alongside the Grey Knights. They don't just fucking kill everybody, and if they did, that's old lore. Speaking of old retconned lore, the Sisters incident. This lore is retconned. It's not canon anymore as far as I'm concerned, and barely anybody says anything about it anymore anyways. So before anybody says anything, it's not real as far as I know. This is shitty fan fiction tier levels of writing, and I say this because I may or may not have experience in that realm when I was younger. I can't find where this is written. I don't know if this is from Matt. I wouldn't be surprised. Some people have said it was. It was probably in the Grey Knights Codex, but Sisters in earlier editions were pretty much borderline fetishized, and we're not even talking about just like the sexual stuff. I mean, they were always losing, dying, getting captured, possibly enslaved, and so on and so forth, because somebody at GW either hated women or they had a power dynamic kink, and most GW writers haven't felt the touch of a woman since they were being fed by their mothers. It's gotten a lot better since things like, aren't tolerated anymore, and I mean, GW hires women, so some of these things can just be flat out uncomfortable for them, and no, I'm not sitting on a soapbox, I'm just saying that this shit is fucking stupid. Let's just talk about how fucking stupid this incident was. So up to this point, the Grey Knights were written as incorruptible. I will go ahead and remind you right now, the existence of Castellan Crow proves that they're not incorruptible, but this was old lore. They are the sons of the Emperor. They are powerful psychers who go into the warp to fight, and they are practically all main characters. And during a fight against some Khorne demons, some Grey Knights got up to a bright idea. To stave off corruption, that thing that they're immune to at this point, they proceeded to kill Sisters of Battle and smear their blood all over their armor, because the blood of Zealots of the Faithful would surely protect them. The blood would protect them from the Blood God, the God of blood, skulls, and murder. Their blood, Cusco's blood. Do I have to explain how fucking stupid any of that is? Do I really? It's just fucking bad. Like, we are going to cover ourselves in blood to protect us from the Blood God. That's not, no, this isn't fucking Walking Dead. You can't just do that shit. It's time we talk about the Terminus Decree. Within the most protected chamber of the Grey Knights is a simple wooden box, containing in it a final order for the darkest hour of the Grey Knights and of humanity in general. The master of mankind can never leave the Golden Throne. Be reborn, transfer to another body, or ascend. If he does, it is the duty of the Grey Knights to return him to his terrible duty. There are no instructions on how to do this, no contingencies, only the order. The Emperor must not leave the Golden Throne. But why? I'm not gonna call this order stupid. It's insane, don't get me wrong, but just like on a logistical standpoint, Grey Knight's trying to invade Terra, fight off the Custodians and the Sisters of Silence, and try to force the Emperor back onto a throne if Big E was strong enough to even be able to stand up from it to begin with. Logistically, there's a lot of fucking problems here, but there's arguments for here and there. Once again, we're not power scaling this shit. I just want to talk about the lore. There's a lot of things that kind of compound on this order, and I feel like people don't remember shit because it's in the heresy. Some of the newer lore revealed in the End and the Death books, so spoilers for you, but you were never going to read these books anyways. We have 2 entities we need to talk about that are important. Technically 3, but we'll get to that later. It's not really an entity, it's more of an object. The 2 entities that we're talking about that are important to the Terminus Decree are the Star Child and the Dark King. This section is going to get long. I apologize. It might not be as heavily edited due to the nature of what I'm about to talk about because it's a lot. But the God Emperor is sitting on the Golden Throne. This is the important part. The throne powers the Astronomicon, which is a lighthouse that guides humanity through the warp. If it ever goes out, humanity would be lost at sea in the warp, and that is fucking dangerous, obviously. The entirety of the Imperium would enter a new age of strife, hands down, no hesitation. For the Imperium to even be stagnant, the Astronomicon must survive. It must be powered. The Emperor must remain on the throne because nobody else is strong enough to sit on it. The throne was originally created for Magnus. Plans have obviously fucking changed. There is also that one thing about how the Golden Throne is pretty much stopping Terra from getting sucked into the warp, which the Golden Throne, I think, is missing a core mechanical piece, and if it isn't replaced in the next 100 years, the entirety of Terra is going to get sucked into the warp anyways. I don't know if the Vaults of Terra series ever got resolved. Regardless, a few things happened during the heresy. Firstly, the Star Child. It is a manifestation of the Emperor's humanity and emotion, which he casted away so he cannot be manipulated and would be able to kill Horus. This isn't like new lore either. It's been said a long time ago that the Emperor casted away his emotions so that way he'd be able to kill Horus. So before somebody claims bullshit, this is old lore that has been expanded upon in new lore. And obviously, it worked, but it made the Emperor into an even colder bastard of a man during his last moments of his life. Guilliman is the only of the Primarchs, as far as I know, to have seen the Emperor for what he is in his current state. He barely refers to Guilliman as a son or by name. He calls him 13, his number. And when he does call him Guilliman, it almost sounds more like he's cursing him. The Star Child, the humanity and compassion of the Emperor, as much as there is in the warp. And it is slowly gathering strength and possibly might become something more. So if that's there, what remains? This goes into the idea of the Dark King. There is a 5th Chaos God. No, not fucking Malice. Stop talking about him. Or at least a 5th seat. It is a mantle that can be taken on by anybody strong enough, that is. Big E sat on the Golden Throne practically in chains for 10,000 years, with no emotion, compassion, or humanity to speak of. They took an all-powerful being, forced it to work for them, and after 10,000 years of suffering, I don't think what remains of Big E would exactly be hospitable. The part of him that matters, his compassion, is in the warp. What remains is something that could become far worse, that could possibly become the Dark King. By itself, the Terminus Decree is an idiotic order. Why would you not want Big E to stand from the throne? Because if he does, you doom the entirety of the Imperium, and for what? A moment of victory? It's not even the same man who tried to save humanity 10,000 years ago. It's something else entirely. There's speculations on what the Terminus Decree was. I believe one from TTS is that it was an order to kill the Emperor and sacrifice his physical form on Terra to force him to ascend into godhood, but given what we know about him, the Star Child, and the Dark King, I'd wager the Terminus Decree is in the right. I don't feel as if it's dumb as a lot of people are claiming it to be, but that's because the entire premise of it is hidden behind almost the entirety of the fucking Horus heresy. I disagree with a lot of people. I especially disagree with Arthur's video. I'm not trying to give the guy shit. He admits he's probably wrong, and fuck, when it comes to the internet, there's so many assholes who can't understand the fact that they can be wrong. Hell, I might be wrong. I've been wrong. I do appreciate when people point out that I am wrong, but I think I'm firmly in the right when I say this. The Grey Knights aren't bad. They're just wasted potential, and GW ruined them. The Terminus Decree should have stayed a secret. Throughout multiple times in the series, there's been tiny hints as to what it could be, but GW can't fucking help itself trying to ruin things. Fuck, man, they ruined Alanius Pius, and they keep ruining factions and characters and theories because they literally cannot fucking help themselves. They're ruining 3D printing communities as well, so, you know, fucking there's that going on. But despite all of that, I still like the Grey Knights. In fact, I like them a lot more now. They deserve better. This one was for you, Evan. It's a quote, this time attributed to the God Emperor himself. One unbreakable shield against the coming darkness. One last blade forged into defiance of fate. Let them be my legacy to this galaxy I conquered, and my final gift to the species I failed. Thanks for listening. And thank you to these channel members. I am stuck thanking around 60 plus names because I learned that I can make the gifted membership tier cheaper, so it's cheaper to give people as well, and I don't have to print out 60 plus fucking nameplates. I think I'm going to hold off on doing the nameplates until next month so I can just see who got gifted and who's actually paying. It feels disingenuous to just put people's names who got gifted on rather than the people who are actually paying. Sid Wara, a natural 20, Erasmus, Kenneth, Sundance, Shmuel, Zachary Y, Kitty Cat Enjoyer, Koyoshin, the God Emperor of R, Alexander McCabe, Dismal, Fluffman, Rozo Jerry, Rozo Gary, still hasn't told me, Eternity, Purveyor Tube, George Sword, 10 Ohms, 11th Company Captain Anteros, El Tito, Oblivious Mooncake, RM06C, Clincher, Dodo Noob, Adam M, Nar Vader, Ragnar Odinson, ZGB, I Have No Mouth and I Must Meme, G Andy, Gadfly, Dave, Artisan Cybersmith, Arctic Berserker, Jeremy Bot, Up Down Down Left Right, Omidian, X, Sam Dynon, Captain Bubbles, Violet Gothic, Delta Crafter, Unnamed, Bagged Soup, Laser, Mark Coyle, Gab Houghton, Josh A35, Corspor, Jake Hoffman, Javier Soto, Giorgio, Alexander Sage, Mount Papa 11, Hannah Olivier, Charmine 26, Orgasmic Potato, Overdraft Perfection, Nicholas, Celarith, Broken Table Glass 22, Find Contact, Mitchell Herbert, Really Big, and K Mappy. And an even bigger thank you to these absolute psychos, that being Human Spirit Indominus. I apparently forgot to put your name in the last video, so I apologize for that. Felix, Grayson Jones, Soloween Pixie, Istra, Ape Brain Esquire, and Never Lost Man. Thanks to you all, once again, this channel is a thing, and I have more motivation to do it than it just being a hobby. I doubt I'll ever go full-time, but hey, a man can dream. See you guys next week, and oh, right, you get to vote for your favorite flavor of Fruit Loops this time around. I'll put up a poll. Actually, I'm probably not even going to put up a poll. I'm just going to say who top comment wins. Good luck.